나서 당하죠. 에 때서 검수라 다 되니마 개체시시시 검수라들이 제거래 살.
So I was told to teach, and we also do meditation simultaneously. So that will be our job this afternoon.
아니 디주텔라 초단 거래 세 낸데 성기도.
And then after that, we will be doing long talk offerings. So that's our second task this afternoon.
딱 고미리다 만다 컴지대야 여러와.
And meditation is really build habit. And there are many different ways to do that.
나디네 가서 곰 재면시 zu보 텐조 지밀리를 묻힌데 텐조니까 예 인스 당보.
And so first, our meditation practice is really looking at our physical form, our body, and to really appreciate this rare, human birth that we all attend with a lot of endowment. Before actually we start the session, can I ask someone or everyone to switch your iPhone or your phone and put this on a vibration, please, or non-vibration, because during the meditation, if your message keep clinging, this will disturb others. So, yes, please put all your phones on silent.
아체 넘발헬로 세죠. 가서 리데 텐조 지밀리를 묻힌.
And our body, we can call it this most precious of body with all wonderful endowments that we acquired.
상조ingone 텐조 지밀리를 묻힌 슬란다. 로단직 다 년초 계셔시바이나 되니 녀모 툭숨이게 당지 머리바이 녀모 툭숨지 영도 방연조지 아니 샤자시 리붕 추바 된다 지그레스.
When we look at our body from the positive side, it's incredible, very precious, human birth, with the endowments that enable us to do incredible things. From the disadvantages or the negative side of it, this body comes with all the afflictions, and we are under the influences of all the afflictions with this body composed of bones and flesh, throwing us into many sufferings. So we start with the good things. We start with this positive side of the acquiring this human body.
상산의 표제 땅와이나 텐조지 밀리는 부신데 타르바다 탐지 첨부 라이 네 코르바니 아니 징 파로도 침 타르바 침을 통제는 라기 주다고기 아니 류지 차도레스.
So if we think positively of our body, this is an incredible, vessel, vehicle, leading us to the shore of liberation, to full enlightenment. And so this is such, precious vessel.
밀리름 붙인디 텐조 접지라 소바기 티즈디 장데지 뭐지 랑종아다 진종아 아니 저봐 주 아니 tarbaji laso bai kyopje tsugi ni tsuyngane ani milide khandi iminzi ha hogro ta tsu de jundu chana tsu zina ya worwa.
And so with that, thinking about the precious human birth, human body, endowed with, 18 endowment, or, the 10 endowment and the 18 leisures, there's so many things that, compose this incredible precious body. You all must have studied it. I'm not going into detail, but basically think of all these 10 endowment and 8 leisures, making this 18 precious, like components that, compose our birth here.
인조지 밀려 rinpoche인데 랑종아당 진종아 상대바지 밀려 rinpoche.
And our human body, the precious body, endowed with the 5, like a self or this inherited endowment, then 5, the others, the conditions coming from the others. And without, we have 10 endowments, what we call. So this leisure and endowed precious human body. That's what we should think of it.
곰라양 지당 지 깨곰탄 조곰스니 형그와.
When you look at the meditation practice, there are 2 types in broad kind of a category. One is the analytical meditation. The other is placing meditation, the placement of mind on a certain object. So there are 2 types.
다 깨곰존라고 인스.
And we are going to do the analytical meditation here mainly.
다 랑종아다. 진종아디저 챙겨지레스 제나마즈.
So these 10 endowment, the 5 with endowment inherited or self conditioned, then the other 5 conditions by externally conditioned 5. I'm sure you know that.
맞아라 산지지 다치 가서 참고해야 주전 참고해야지 드드레스.
So these are the kind of conditions we need to attain, enlightenment.
주 양타고 줘야라 창야라 되니 여러 주지 참고를 디 뭐지?
These 10 endowment we need to really have a meaningful and a complete practice of Dharma.
다라지라나다 미공바 취치야라 미공비 네지 라소바냐와 이다 튼로 라소바게니 대진지는라 취치야라 마공비 자신들이들와.
So when we talk about the 8 leisures, basically these 8 leisures are opposite of conditions where we are not free to practice Dharma. We're not free to really do a lot of things that we're able to do now. So we call mikompa, unleisure or in leisure. I don't know the English term for the opposite of the leisure. So we are free and from these, and we have this incredible 8 leisure, the luxury of the 8 leisure, which enable us to practice Dharma and accomplish many other qualities.
베라지나 지금가서 튼로럭지 제발레바이나 되니 딱 가지기 직상보다 된상보 가질라나 아니 고개 말을 라네 아니지 그냥 제토 말와.
For example, if we took birth in animal realm, then regardless of the use of different expressions, the words, signs, we would not be able to understand, comprehend these profound meanings. So instead, now this precious human birth and the body is very precious.
디 류디 띵네 아니 시럽자 체주 즉 차되거와
And from this, human body, we are able to understand the grasp of most profound wisdom.
텐조니가와 텐체와
So we contemplate how rare and how difficult it is to attain human birth. And once we attain human birth, how meaningful it is. So contemplate on this.
딱 텐체와 라야 되는 저기 미리된 자침보 아니 딘디지 안에 다리 텐조지 밀리름부치 톱 천대지 라마든지 산지 응어스 저와도지상 체지 리지라 산지에이 아니 담주 동아 용수 줘봐 딘디기 자침부지 제 리데 왕부 창대와 아니지 유수제대와 딘디기 자침부기 니치 응안에 아니 디다 가와 공연다 들어와.
So we contemplate that we attained this precious human birth and the body comes with these 8 leisures. With that, we're able to meet qualified teacher who are inseparable from the Vajradhana and Vajradhara. And with instruction from these teachers, we will be able to attain enlightenment in this very lifetime. And we're able to really attain and learn and practice the very precious Dharma. We're able to practice and study teachings from Vajrayana, teachings from Sutrayana. All of these conditions are available to us thanks to this precious human birth. On top of that, we have all our senses, healthy senses, and we were born with the central location meaning the places where we have access to Dharma. So we have all of these incredible, conditions, the rare conditions. We had the luxury and opportunity to enjoy these conditions.
지상 단다서서 아니 준비 전에 말에 보고는 말에 딱 겜바 나집 짓해줘 된다는 말에 대송자 딱 달에 되고 줘야지 소소 동에 만들어봐 대만대회 니주영안에 아니 시럽자 전부 내 배주 땅치네 되니 양탑에 따와다 잔죽이 있습니다 아니 배전 자전부지 제 전수 삼는 땅나 까망아 삼다나.
And then we should contemplate or meditate, maybe 5 minutes, thinking that right now, in the conditions totally favorable to us to practice Dharma, because we're not too old, we're not too young, not too immature. We all have a relatively healthy body and mind. And so knowing and appreciating what we have, and then make sure that we utilize this meaningfully, really to cut off the sources of sufferings that we all don't want. And to do that, it is incredible, wisdom teachings, wisdom teachings, and we, have access to wisdom teachings, and so making good use of these wisdom teachings, cultivating the perfect wisdom, the correct views, and with that, we then, meditate on bodhicitta, meditate on these correct views. So this is how we utilize our precious, human birth meaningfully. So let's contemplate on this for 5 minutes.
라소 데니 남준도 땅가 좀 미지 제단 누라 지 때바이나 아니 중 집에 돈에 보래 계산시요 말에 아니 디바르델라 왕보 다르 자민갑라 차차 징징라 나와 잉네 에너지 시작하기 타르바타 탐지침바 수수기 자비 동에 만들베지 동에 자와라 도나스키 지금 말에 되네야 로 지니슈네 납주 받을라 되네 롭종 침부라듯이 또 그게 롭종 다 침부제나 또 그게 에 제야래 되네 강달 다지 류초기 때와 토야기 아니 롭종 니기 돈에 아니 내가 아니 니기 돈에 땀도 년자 안 된지 지금 알아 아니 디다 되는지 코르이게 다 창소야 창소자야 부자야 되니 부유나 여비 동에 매나 매비 동에 아니 럽종 여나 여비 동에 매나 매비 동에 아니 내가 여나 연 동에 매나 매비 동에 차도단 제셈 낙셈다 느셈 럭다다 차도 된지 지금 안에 지원도 줄네 롱압주 되세 말이야 롱압주 님이 돌아 되니 랑게 아니 사니마마도 벤저 지와다 아니 가진 지와다 아니 좀제 용서 저거 취지 뉴바이나 아니 저거대 미다비랑 인제 아니 델라테네 롱주테 미다비랑 인제 여바이나 쥐왕스키요 말에 키야스키요 말에 되네 랑사사사 쟁이 롱주 거야스 차들이 뭐니지데 되네 다 랑게 칼레 잡연지 좀제라고데 락체라고데다 데브라데 카레 슬라나 카투카두데라 아니 차나 그 또나 사야 네마 아니지 드로나 모자 남들라 소바기 시베 푼조 점 지기 띵라 데미시티 조바레 시베 푼조디 네바도 거기래 류데 초야 류데 때야 강달 추다 룽상마로 녀고야기 난 점블링시나 소 니스가라 차와 송장 가서 시베 푼조디 거기래 이나양 시베 푼조딜라 이치체네 짜침분지마다 아니 수수기 주볼라이나 짜침분지야다 롱쩌사이 주보이나 짜치 쩌니이 롱쩌사이 시베 푼조이나 짜침분지야기 디 로디 야호 저다와이나 로디 출발해 주보데 같이 짜침분지임바이나 랑 로차위 니술라 참말로 쪽초위 내래 니마숨 나라 아니 대바이나다 지 마롱아다오지 니준 된지 남준도 자와나라 짜침을 쉬어진데라 디낭인게 로트당데라 삼노야고 지당 데니시비 푼조 같이 짜침보이나 또그땀 년자 같이 짜침보 코르푸자 아니 년년도 반드시 여와이나 참말로 타만디 주도랑지리 직도랑지리 디ingona 초바 동에지 아니 가비 동에 나비 동에 치비 동에 아니 톡도 매바지 용디게래 디송자 다 롱압주 유네 니리 끼지네 다 치발라 녀로래 치비 뒤줄래이나 순비기 깔레잡뉴디 키야네 매바지 데니 스스로라 가르조로 대점지 닝보매바지 통고야 돼 기침버린다 다 10이 된다 10이 깝라 키로야 가래 슬라나 히 랄리드나 남시당 풍분인데 예와 천로에 니주지래 단단가서 초로 동행다 소바 대화기 뇽아 냥되는데 남시 대당 류된되는데 땡땡뱅안에 소바 지ing안에 레도리 덴데게 개별로지 이난다 박자자서 동해로이 박자자서 있는데 정말로 남시 디딩을 줘봐 인장 자기 여봐 인장니 아니 탈도 가서 나 가서로 미세들 닝보 메비 미세지가나 버전 제대야 돼 아니 못 거고 대처송아이나 아 데니스스기 디마도 로사메나 짜침부 디마도 로사메나 도그 땅마도 로사메나 다래 내가랑 지고로 봐 디리면도와 아니 덴디기 네캅지 도그 땅 초들이기 심 장부주여 봐이나 장부주여 봐이나 아니 지 사마 장부주이나 참마 체신레 시랍이나 시랍지 레델라지 뉴몬진 시랍 뉴몬단 제된죠 장바다 닌지 서발라소가 참말로와 체신레 체신라도 게 예지기 매바 조트비아다 게 예지기 아니 랑기 장부지 연된데 매바 조트비아지 여베 친제라 랑 동일리 만데바레 랑 뉴몬 동숨지 나란서 아니 욕부차더래 당지 말이 바이 욕부차더래 디 욕부 임바데 뭐 최송아이나 당지 말이 바전에 동의 랑인데 네갑 짐바제 하고 그래 텔레 하자 미치지안도에 텔레 하자 톱잔도에 라나 톱자유리 점닝지 잔주기 쌤 아니 따와 친지 말로 봐 동반이지 최대주디 대화라 체메 말이 준노르 나니 준노르 약슈 삭바 메바 제바 메바 라나 메바 랑신 꾸라 서바 대화 바식제 틈니지 잘라지 여르다 딩가 저기 도난 지금 말다 딥베사레 소소소소라다 르바다 소소소소라다 뱀 메시지 잡용 쉬우지로 와 대송장 디 계시모레 많이 빼면가 너야다
So when we both got carried away. In our kind of regular practices and in life, that it's very important that we have a clear understanding about how we spend our time, how our life drift away from us. And so, for example, if we look back our life, at a very young age, we don't understand that much. We have very little understanding and appreciation about what things going around us, right? And then when we become a little bit mature, we got carried away by getting interest in kind of beauties, the external kind of disruptions. And we never think about the importance of attaining a liberation or enlightenment qualities. Our life is just got carried away by any teenagers who just so preoccupied with things that we get taught to get interested into. And then if you look at between 20s to 50s, we will be burdened with our education, with earning income, and developing our career. And with that, basically, we'll be totally preoccupied by this kind of constant demand, including developing, fame, popularities, career, the preoccupation and the professionals and so on. And we really hardly got any time to reflect and to make it useful and meaningful for our future. And on top of that, we get married, we have children, then we'll be ever busy and even more preoccupied now than any other time in our life. And with that also comes, the sufferings of having children, sufferings of not having children, the sufferings that we go through for gaining education, sufferings that we go through not having access to education. And there's a sufferings related with, having a full-time job. There's a sufferings for not having a job. So basically, until 50, we be, drifting away. We'll be carried away by there's so many distractions. A lot of these are, basically, again, it's a suffering. And then if we look at this very body, the precious body that we think, although we see this body, beautiful, amazing, but if you really look closely, it's again a reminder of nothing other than impermanence. Every, wealth, the income, so on, that we generate with this body, they'll be exhausted and they'll be used by others. We really, truly do not, have a proper time to enjoy the things that we earn. Again, it's as part of the nature of being impermanent. When you have some possession, some wealth, there's a suffering attached to it. It's conditioned by suffering. And the wealth and the things that we generated, that we accumulated, will be used by others. And when you look back at the end of your life, thinking, what is there that to really show up in our life? And you hardly find anything meaningful, because everything that you worked for your entire life, later it's either the benefit is used by others than oneself, or there's so much suffering is associated with it, so much cost that we paid for it. And for us, there's really nothing to show. Of course, like we're able to buy some clothes to protect us from cold, some meals to protect us from hunger, and so on. Sometimes even we use this money to buy tickets so we can fly. So there's some kind of fulfillment of the samsara there, but they're very limited. And in this kind of the wonders of the world or the samsara, and a lot of things cost us. We have to buy in the world. We have to pay for fresh air. Everything that we enjoy, it has a cost. And if you really look, this kind of the happiness of the samsara, and when you investigate properly, there's no, happiness in samsara. Everything is, basically deceptive. Even looking at your own body, this most kind of cherished, or object, saying our body, the beautiful body, this, amazing body that we think of. But when we die, after 3 days, it becomes decay and it starts smelling. So, in samsara, we're thinking, oh, we have this amazing body, but itself is a deceptive. You just have to give it 3 days, and then you'll find the true nature of it. It will start smelling, decay. So that's, taking refuge in the samsara, what you get. Everything is a deceptive. And so all these come from our delusion, thinking that, the things in samsara, the pleasures in samsara are permanent. The samsaras will fulfill our, desire, and it will fulfill our life. But if you look carefully, the pleasures in samsara are, the nature, in principle, they're subject to many conditions. One of the constant condition is that everything changes, everything dissolve in samsara. And think of, this pure, experience about aging and illness and death. That's the very part of our life that we go through in this life. It's basically gift from the samsara. So if you look at the faults of the samsara, they're clear indications. We find the similar indications from our own experiences with our body. And after, when we pass the 50 years of age, then we're getting really every single day as we're approaching to our death quite fast. We became now, once you're past the 50, which I am, we become close to our, the next event. And then, we, become really, close to our death and the time of death. And when, we reach to this time of death, and now if you look back, all of the, hard work that we done, all of the, hard contributions and things, there's nothing we can carry with us. right? And if you wanted to choose, what shall I bring with me to the next life? There's nothing. And this very, life, which is composed of our body and our consciousness. And with that, we've done so many, virtuous things, so many non-virtuous things. And but if we look carefully, the thing is that we, constantly spending most of our time become irrelevant to our next life, because they're meaningless, or sometimes, they also bring a lot of troubles. And so, we spend so much time on building something, making something, right? And try to really, create good names for ourselves, and try to really earn so that we have a comfortable and living. But a lot of these, are useless when we die. We cannot carry this. But then if you, because a lot of the, things that we do, especially if they are under the influences of negative emotions, such as attachment, they of course, bring suffering with us. And so the afflictions, the affliction and these negative emotions, they are not really standing on the ground with the reasons. They are, very fragile. And when you really have a proper logic and the reasons, you can really destroy these negative emotions, and the emotions really, you can clear them away, knowing that they have no solid ground to stand, to establish them as the reasonable or as the logic. But on the other hand, the positive, emotions such as loving kindness and compassion, and these really are built and they were generated with the right reasons and logics. And so these cannot really produce a negative impact. And they're, really constructed with a good ground, being the reason and the logic, unlike the negative emotions. And therefore, once, with the teachings, that when we're able to understand that the negative emotions were just like a slave of self-grasping mind, the negative emotions are acting like a slave of the self-cherishing mind, right? And that, leading us to do a lot of negative things and resulting in sufferings. And, they're also temporary. But when you really engage in the practice of compassion, loving kindness, and bodhicitta, and this really truly cleans our mind, and it brings enormous, happiness. And the good, I think, the merits and the result that are produced with the positive emotions, there's no limit to this. They're constantly with us, they're expansive. These merits that we earn through the practice of compassion and a virtuous deed, their result is huge and limitless. And whereas the negative emotions, they're very short term or short-lived. Usually the consequence is negative and bring suffering. On the other hand, the practice of compassion and bodhicitta bring benefit to ourselves, to others, unlimitedly and infinitively. And therefore, they're very powerful.
대상 된지 응수라 삼는다니 수고들레레 샤오레스.
So by really contemplating these, just, and you just physically relax and place your thought on these, teachings that I just taught you.
나들이 탑시 전주기 쓴다. 시럽표도 중요하다. 인지표도 중요한데지. 안소저기 다 디차오 디케점보레 저야기 탑디 많이 받을라. 아니 소소기 인중 조시지 코르비 니믹트도 야고 공부레스.
So these precious, practices, bring the infinite happiness to us. The practice of a bodhicitta, the practice of the correct or perfect wisdom, the practice of the compassion. And now we realized how important, how beneficial they are. And they're very important. So until you really gain a knowledge and realizations on these practices, it's very important to practice the renunciation.
다 인중 창생이 로데 다지 대리는 거중에 니마 대리는 거죠 전에서서 아니 칼라자와 나지 니리 초아나라 칼라 뒤숨 자고와 나지 되는 대샤시다 디무트즈데 매바당 인중 창생 양답에 따와데 제소지네 아니 칼라자와 나지 양서 삼노당 검지되네 안데 조고 맞제와이나 세메다 바래 셀라 롱요 말에 가서 고그 말에 뒤수기 가서라 고그 말에 나처럼 다 미세 데라 또 다운스 미튼달라 잉디샤 코르바 출발이 동해 타마 동해 애니 주지라 처럼 안다 잉 차송 다 나라 시에서 다가 양자 잘로 잽다 미세디야 약부지시네 다가 대화 준주치에 제행이 뒤주대요 말에 세메다 바래 다체 미다발라야디 신유진 직된라 따나 미다바래 신유진 직된 거랑 수 드쟁하니 차주래 화 드쟁하니 직네 끼지라 미다바 끼지 직네 되니 뒤주 슈주 니마 로 라와 라 소바기 되니 kon 주로하지 존로하지 매와 찬로하지 추연 잠을링디 종기기 종아지기 아니지 땡중을 때네 드진 안추 뒤처럼 뒤네 아니 종기기 자와지 체들이 친종아지를 때바이나 미다비랑지리 낭 심진을 때나 미다비랑지리 아니 다체 코와 통마매바네 지 잘보다 잘몰라서바다 되네 시술라 작업다 된데기 다 항달 수수에게 뜻에 띵주지 잠블링나라 코육 드라만다 메릭 드라만다 예완 드라만다 검시 드라만다 대사말로와 대고 당분이 여대바지 말에 당보 여바지도 참말로와 단다 민상 다잠 매바 또 잘보이난다 아니 토광당 여바이난다 아니지 죽랑소 여바이난다 담녀다 여바이난다 타마딜라 민상즈마도 아니 가야라면도와 단단가 저이나 되니 난게 sem진 순르질이나 미다비랑 이래 다 항달 미다비랑 이데 끼직 라서는 땅와이나 땅가서 단홍이미데 단다 따라 대요 말이 군주로 그래 미다바 락바티마도 가서기 출구요 말와 하고요 말에 미다바 참의 내중은 따와이나 끼직 줄네 야 산호체 갑라 끼직 미운 거 되니 끼직 직네 다고 매바지 랑상 차려야지 된지 미다베랑 지리 대송장 산이 시용아 하고 말에 더공 시용아 술래 띵주요 말에 남친님이 단 디치징님이 아니 제리 다 디상이나 드라미시 작진나다 튠진 렉소 야고 요리데 기겐 파쇼이나다 중지 촉대와다 중지 쪽배가네 중아지지 네세 라만라 용대야 되니 난기 중아지라 되니지 최다 롱다 카제 롱주지야 참말로 되니 가지고로다지 된리게 지 가지고로다 됐지 기니글람나 말에다 항다르 제이지 아니 나마드라만다 아니 입카도 드라마를 치는다 제인 드라만다 릭숙체 찬 상마 제조 응원을 치니 난기 중지라 북도 러쇼쇼 내쇼쇼에 차지 뭐지 주요래 대송장다 독 디바이나 다 미다베 정신져야 돼 할리비뉴버지도 그래 디송자 다 미다베 정신이 조보치라 마제바이나 첼라 롱요 말에 다 되니 양 미다베랑 지리 상마 대가리 직도나 최미 짐만나지 매와 차로게나 니스타데레 내 말에 땅 가서 철과 동행만 돼봐 대반 돼봐 디기 남시 띵라 가서 박샤져요 박샤 디기 띵네 응 제와 대 제와 치마 저야 돼 수수기 킬레나 말레나 제와기 니수시 레온 거래 되네 도고거래 다양 류질린 거거라 대송장 된리기 낭수이 니수드데 되네 령아 이숨기 개와다 미개비 니수응하네 아니 로아 리투게 낭니 마튜마게 셰당 슈크체웨게 니와제야 데 카조로다 니벨레사야 조르드리다 데지 니와라 차랑이 동일라소바다 데니지 센나 슈크체웨 예다 제와 조르드리다 예다라 징고미 동에 조르다 데니 다지 개벨로와 메바 미개벨로와 메바 로 따뇨스 차네 아니 로디야 디조이니 티무기 니수잉하네 디조 티무기 레사와 인자네 둔로기 니수 땅가솔라 로하리축노네 메다 둔로니데 가서 하고 그래 진다조 다 망보지기 하마고나 마토나 킬레요 말와 다대가 깔레가 우리는 니 킬레 제야이다 아유 다 마차자뇨라 강다를 레나서 왔사거네 거리 님이 라다네 되네 취지야 상다야 되네 하루의 페뉴 삼다는 취지야 타르와 랍디 딘드리기 로아리축 처음 되네 제가 나치지 방송기 찡대야기 독창기 리셈디 녀모 독숨기 찡대야디 제외 연대지 여행하죠 세미 랑인데 딘드리메도아 세미 랑인데 탁바 셀바 동네다 남양 그룹메바 아니 대화 바직 지 텀니지 아니 지 탁빙원에 아니 쳔발라나 메바 님발라나 메바 제발라나 메바 라이디 가솔라 컴 대식임보라니 심지 끊라 여대와게 아니 심 타투기 심 차슈 타투기 데르지 여대거래 디기 니추이게 때서 시바이나 아니 타르바 톱주여 봤 딘리기 동행들데 로와 조라지 아니 베 니메 님보데 심이 라지데이나 동행데 찜바당 차바당 로 조라딘지 나라 찡데야지 빵랑 게틱라야데 차tin 로숨 찡데나지 직 차와인장 내는 가서라 가요바지라 심이 라지인데 아니 자침부지 이게 되지 대신자니 동행레 제주여들이 독도대 동행디 매봐줘야 유리 동행대 자와니니 동행제야 매봐 자와니니 휴자 넘버 꾼돌라 동행 자와니니 매봐줘야 이 탑도와 근데 맛이 가래 디스술라 라와유리 디 가르스 제고레 시랍 공배를 땅네 시랍 줘야디 가서 시랍지 카제바나 난가나지 난가나지 땡삼부 짜치모 닌다나지 여설바 오늘 전에지 뺨미시 짜치모도와 딘데기 시랍 배셔다나 내가 비동에 타투 동에 자와니 가서 코르바리 양잘 로아리 쭉 줘야 되는 코르 먹고 와 자와니네 코르 먹고 와지 소투비안도와 디 롱바게니 로고야 말에 미jen지 있잖니 추 레야 요 말에 녀야 요 말에 디 참마 랑기 셈기 랑진 타투데 하고서나 온데레 디 제외 연된데 하고나 동해리 제외 연된지 맞을라 톱샤 요래 라나 메바지 셈진 꾼라 요데레 딱 안디스 토그레세나 아니 랑게 치보이디 라키가 말와 딘디 톱데니 tomba sanji 좀 된데 딘디게 다 가서로 자신보 제페네 ngasola tombalana meba tenchuelana meba nyamnyunglana meba 딘디게 lana mebi 연대 자신보 제 산지 지송을 오 동해 저야디 뭐지 동해 저야 랑소라 만두비 동해데 방주도 아니 동행데 군중레샤 랑시 접대버지 민도 군중레샤 군중랑양 레지 군중다 뉴몽비 군중이 니수도 차라 시에네 아니 방탑도 스미 랑신 줘야디 아니 접주도 되니 곡대라야지도 스미 랑신 라야데 헤서봐 아니 timmamewa dasha jita timu namya mewa denriye zachimbozi du de yewala ani di rangjin de ha hoya la an chungo nimba shirabji paro de chimba la soba yi tinjung yi te khona ni de kharsi tangzi marikwa de nedang kharesha amedo bi shirab khandis chebudu di tsuyi ni tsuyi de shibi tone ani bangjudu 동해 방주도 대화 줍주도 아니 람데 라네 다 저런 만두위 동해디시 릭티즈디 주젠티즈디 뉴르땅 대외주 타르와 토베지 준도가 타르와 토베지 주젠티즈 약 공베땅 아랑라 타르와 토베지 공베 자치모 하고디 데니 년중라나 메바 지젠 시베 분조라 아니 원래 전에 자침보 이 동화 단단 능신시 배때 님제 끌라 시비 분솔라 찡가 이 동화 담대야 돼 아니 타만데 루지 임바디 하고네 되니 제외 연대라 아니 님볼래야지 타바 튀니 로지 다랑 동행 끌라 타바 토야지 로지 여나 디파 카페디 심제 참말로 타바타 토야지 주지하고래 방주 연대지 방샤 방여지 제외 연대지 당 방주에 아니 시샤지 하고네 아니 전담된 바다 근접된 바 셀라네 스스 쭈유라 여대바지 디게 전당하는 로와이나 축보지난 디레 잘보지난 디레 닌제모세난 디레 카파로나 전주기 셈 저야지 짜침무지 셈제 탐지라 아니 이동위 잠바다 제가 셈제 라야데 트빌로지기 간디스 찡대와 트빌로의 박샤 투보기 낭수 니수 델리 박샤 잡사이 낭수 니수 신주 잡의 낭수 니수 몸부지 하홍도 준제이 펑연주시 아니 동해기 교의 펑리라 되는 닌지제 레라 되는 닌지제 디셈이 장신 자첨보 시럽 이시디 함하고니 추대야 될라 자 닌지제 맛이 진짜 다시 냠지라야지 얘네 자침부지 돈이 되니 오늘 빼미시 자침부지 어쩔 줘야 돼 와.
그래서 이제 견이 그래. I'm getting this incredible. I wanted to share with you. So now you can meditate. So yes, when we really look at this, the power of all the positive, the emotions like compassion and so on, they build on the solid reasons and the logics. They cannot easily be destroyed, like the negative emotions who are grounded on baseless assumption and perception. And so understanding and appreciating the practice of bodhicitta, the wisdom, and the compassion, you have to rely on a number of methods to attain these qualities. And so for a beginner, the first really, the approach really to gain appreciation and understanding about this great quality is the practice of renunciation. And because the renunciation, through proper practice of renunciation, will really reinforces your practice of a bodhicitta and creative view. And therefore, when we practice renunciation, we have to practice like we're, having meal daily basis. You cannot just start practice and then drop it and then resume later. You just constantly, it's very important, the constant practice of renunciation, like, you're taking your daily meal. you think about the renunciation a daily basis, maybe more than one time per day. And as you do that, and then you really, it will reinforces the other practices. So in Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned in the practice of the three principles, really when you meditate constantly the faults of the samsara, and especially meditating on the nature of the impermanence, and then you realize that you don't have much time left to practice, and with that you start appreciating the time that you have, and you will make a good use of that time. So it's important, meditating on the nature of the impermanence really makes you appreciate the time you left to practice, and therefore it will really reinforces the use of the time meaningfully and purposefully. So when you think about the nature of the impermanence, of course, counting with hours and then days and then month, and they go really fast. That's how the time is really running out fast in this samsara. And secondly, if you just look at our physical world, the environment here, and our environment, built with the elements, right? 4 elements or 5 elements. And if you go deeper, they're basically construction of different atoms. And these, the places, the environment that we are surviving, that we're depending on these, elements and, the atoms, and they're so fractal, they evolve in minutes to minutes. And so looking at the sentient beings living on this environment, regardless of the kingdoms, the countries, and so on, and everything that we so fixed. Okay, I came from this country, he's American, he's a British, and with this incredibly kind of a falsehood, like of identity. And if you really look properly, all of these were the names, they were designated, the labels constructed with our mind. And if you think of as a famous person, it becomes a history. You only remember the name of the person. The person sooner or later will die or leave this world. Although in the past, we're thinking someone's really concrete. And so everything, that we experience in this samsara, later is just, we will be leaving them, impermanence, and merely or only our names will be remained behind. And so even when we think about the impermanence in our daily life, the person of the morning is different from the person of the afternoon. When you look at the nature of the impermanence from a gross level, from a subtle level, although from a coarse or the gross level, it's not observable to us, the differences between a person in the morning and in the evening. But, those who can see the subtle nature, it's observable. The chemistries or the chemicals, and the person, will have in the body in the morning is differs from the chemicals which construct the person in the afternoon. So you can see the change taking place within a single day. And that's how you really practice, thinking how things change. And then, especially when you look at the more kind of degenerating time, and the causes of the impermanent or the death is become ever more aggressive. This is because the pollution that we're creating in our a world. There's so many pollution. There's so many chemicals. There's so many kind of unhealthy substances that we have to rely our physical body to live. As a result, our kind of time, our this what you call this giving time to live in this world is shortened. And, we're kind of the nature of the impermanence, the time of the death is becoming ever more progressive, whereas the time, in the leisure time that we live is, shrunk. Because of the change in our environment, change, our external change, the internal change, and they're all just like rushing us to the next life. So that if you think about all these conditions, unfavorable conditions, that restricting and fastening our time to death because of the change in environment, as because of the change in our body, chemistry and so on. This is a very powerful way of really meditating on the nature of the impermanence and saying we don't have very much time to practice, and constantly thinking that, like, you're consuming meal, think this every single day, which will then reinforces you to appreciate the practices such as the compassion and bodhicitta, and encourage you to practice that, making your time, whatever is left in this samsara, meaningful. But when the time of the death comes, it's not just like a lamp turning off or extinguishing. We have a body and we have a consciousness. We leave the body behind and our consciousness continue to migrate. And so, the experiences such as the virtuous deed that we generated, happiness will follow with that. The negative deeds that we engage, the consequences, the negative result, that's trouble with our consciousness, and that will arrive in our next life. So when we talk about different realms of a birth, like a hell, like animals, and like a human, when they talk about the 6 different realms, they basically are produced by our action, not other than our action. So they're like a realm of the hungry ghosts and so on. Maybe if you don't believe in hungry ghosts, but they're at least the realm of the animals and the human realm, or the animal birth and the human birth, that are observable to us. So if you look at how the animals go through in this life, the sufferings and so on, how looking at our own experiences of birth, aging, illness, and death, the experiences of the samsara, the suffering nature, is observable to us, and that we have to accept it, because we can see how the animals are suffering, how human beings are suffering in this world, or this samsara. With this kind of mindfulness, with these meditations, and if we reflect internally, and then this will really turn our mind toward the Dharma. It will really enable us to practice and spend our time meaningfully. That's one way of really meditating on the faults of the samsara. And then you should also meditate on the qualities of the nirvana, the liberation. Thinking all these samsaric negative experiences, and then really start looking at the qualities, the excellent qualities of non-abiding, or the abandoning samsara. This is basically, again, within our reach, and we have this basic seed or the potential. If you look at the nature of the mind, our nature of the mind is clear, or bright, and it has the like potential to develop this incredible unexcelled wisdom, a compassion, and a power. And if you really look at the nature of the most subtle mind, that we all have this Tathagata Garbha, right? The nature of the Buddha nature in us. And this, Buddha nature is like a sun, like a moon, totally devoid of stain. Sometimes you can describe that our this nature of the Buddha nature is like a space. It's endless, timeless, and any kind no restrictions. And whereas the afflictions and negative emotions like a cloud in the sky, and they will come and they will go. But the true nature of our mind, the most subtle mind, is in that of Buddha nature. It's like it's enlightable. I'm using this word because I cannot find equivalent term in English, that our mind is enlightable. Like we have the potential to really enlighten or attain enlightenment. So I'm just using this. I made up this word, enlightable. So that's what we have. And if you really look, and then thinking, wow, we're endowed with these amazing, potentials, right? And with that, then if we start, meditating, start really using the term properly, then we do not have to fear this nature of the samsara. So although the nature of the samsara is there, but with this most powerful innate, our most subtle, nature of the mind, there are so many wonderful qualities comes with it, and they can easily dissolve, destroy the negative emotions, and you can attain this incredible quality. And so it's very important also build this confidence that we can enlighten ourselves, we can attain enlightenment and or liberation from the samsara, because we have this Buddha nature, like a seed in ourselves. And this incredible, powerful Buddha nature can easily overcome any of the negative conditions and afflictions and emotions that we described before. And so when Buddha taught the Dharma during the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, he introduced us the true nature of samsara, suffering, and how the suffering is generated through looking at the origin of the karma, origin of the affliction. And then, Buddha, knowing that we have the power to attain liberation and attain enlightenment from the samsara, he turned the second wheel of the second time, turning the Dharma, in which he taught about the wisdom chapters, the perfection of wisdom, in which Buddha is teaching, once we generated a strong renunciation, truly understanding the nature of the samsara, how the suffering is, produced and so on. And then he started teaching this wisdom sections in which we're able to overcome all these negative emotions. And so again, here going back, really practicing and understanding the teaching of the renunciation is very important, because without really truly understanding the true nature of the samsara, we constantly deceive in samsara with seeing everything pleasant, everything nice, everything beauty. But with that, you're really falling into a trap, which really basically traps you into suffering. But on the other hand, if you really start thinking about the problems in samsara, at the same time thinking about the qualities, the Buddha nature and other wonderful, the nature of the mind, the true intrinsic nature of the mind, and so on, then it built us confidence that we can, seeing the samsara as a problem, we also have the option or the choices to liberate ourselves and others from samsara, and we can do that. And to do that, we have to understand what are the things that we should abandon. What are the agents that enable us to abandon? So these are usually enlisted in the teaching of the true truth, the conventional truth, the ultimate truth. These true teachings are basically teaching us the reality, and then things how we can accomplish that. And then with that, we go even further. Not only that we attain liberation from samsara, but we attain full enlightenment so that we can enable others to cross the sufferings of the samsara. This is because our compassion, we talked about before, that all the sentient beings in samsara, they're not willingly living in samsara. They are basically under the influence of the confusion, the marikpa, and under the influences of the three afflictive emotions, under the influence of the perverted views. They're constantly kind of cycling or recycling in samsara helplessly. No one wanted to suffer, but they're constantly going from sufferings to suffering. And seeing that, in the natures, the experiences that they're going through, then we develop this compassion to free them from samsara. And to free them from samsara, enable them to attain a full enlightenment, these amazing qualities. And to do that, then we rely on some of the bodhisattva practices. The bodhisattva practices, there are two major streams of practices, these 7 causes and the result practices, starting with the seeing every sentient beings as your own mothers, thinking about their kindness. Now they're going into this extremely difficult experience in samsara and have the strong urge and the compassion to enable them. That's one way of practicing Buddhism. Chitta, another practice of the Bodhisattva's exchange of in the self with others. First, equalize oneself with others, then exchanging your happiness with that of the sufferings of the other sentient beings. This is another type of bodhicitta practices, which really enable us to develop a very profound compassion. With that, then we're helping others to free them from samsara. And yes, Khandro did mention we should meditate on that. So I'm just
라서다 항달 시드나엔 체 탐지네 띵중이 병아네 체바 떼바 땜바 잠시리마도 랑신 주바 들자메 동반이 지랑신 테네 까망아 하주르나.
And then we meditate for about 5 minutes on the dependent origination, the interdependence, this emptiness, where we're thinking all phenomena are, arises from dependent origination. They're relative to each other. They depend on each other. All this, depend on the conditions and the causes. And through that, really developing this emptiness, the shunyata view.
이 때는 근조 비추 라니 주니 동반이 대이 나라 랑정수 샤바 출리 추부르 뒤비기 똑순데 심지 마타위 니중하나 코르바당 닭비 시랑나잉라 아니 냥데 라야기 니즈디 지지가라 되니 여바 성장 dim마도비 심진 삼지 닝제 대화되는 대외추 개화줄라 소비 아니 개화줄미시 딕바빵미시 아니 닝제 대화대반데 옹아 동행 바지 용 안들리기 심진 코르바 참대야 참로 랑지 참로 닝제 대탐제로 참닝지 전주기 쌤데 제니 라나메와 돈이 따와 원든 줄 알았지 찌마루 되네 까망아 겁나로나.
So with this meditation on emptiness view, through developing this wisdom of a dependent origination, and then as you meditate on the emptiness, when you're able to really develop this very totally stainless, emptiness, and like the water pouring on water, this is your practice view of the emptiness and the true nature of the emptiness. They're becoming one, inseparable. And with this, appreciation of the experience of that, and now reflecting externally, thinking at other sentient beings, this is incredible that I'm experiencing this, like emptiness view, the view of the emptiness. And yet, all the sentient beings who have the same if you like, the condition, who have the same qualities like myself to attain this, profound wisdom, but they're not able to for a number of reasons. So they're constantly still, like viciously cycling in a samsara without any kind of help or, powerless. And although they desire for happiness, but they're not able to understand how to produce the correct causes for happiness. They constantly engage in negative deed. As a result, they're expanding, enriching the suffering. Although, they wanted to free from sufferings, but they did not know how to do that. So they're constantly creating causes which create further, sufferings. And so really thinking this, like conditions of the sentient beings, we generate a proper compassion on them. And with that, in thinking, wouldn't it be really wonderful, if other sentient beings will also gain the emptiness view? This will enable us to free from samsara, the experience that we have, the teaching that we receive, the knowledge that we have. If all the sentient beings have that knowledge, this will really enable them to free samsara, but they didn't. With that, really start now thinking compassion and saying, with my power of the practices, I wish that all sentient beings attain similar experiences that I'm experiencing now. And my practices, the merits that I are accumulating become the causes for all sentient beings to attain this most profound wisdom of emptiness. With that, they will be able to free themselves from samsara. So I want you to contemplate that for a few minutes.
that's Dini. Dangi Jim Zorazi Maumbala Samdaya Chit Testes Labais Maumbala Sam Jirim that's Jirim, but Omareta Samdan.
And so I talked about, this meditation, how
Dogs are Labis.
so I was kind of basically highlighting these, topics so that you can continue study and practice this in the future. So I'm going through fast and briefly on these topics and the subject, just for your own future practices. And it's not a really intrusive meditation. No.
And
if we go through the proper analytical meditation, we will all fall asleep because it's not the right condition to practice analytical meditation this time. So when you do meditation, the condition differs for different individuals because of our different element that we have in our body, different composition of the lung, the energies and so on. There's no universal perfect time for meditation.
And
and especially when we talk about meditation, we talk about the 7 posture of the Vajrayana, the Vajra posture. But this is, a restricted teaching. Didn't meant for everyone that very practice.
And if
the body is too straight or too stretching, it harms your back and your the lower part of your back, your waist. We're still talking about, developing the single-pointed concentration. So for the, developing the single-pointed concentration, some of the postures are very important. But for generating bodhicitta and compassion and so on, you don't have to have any meditation postures to develop them.
So dende chia yabomendwa dene dende chia yabomenda dende chia yabomenda ane yabomenda
for developing a single-pointed concentration and for developing this really relaxed, body posture, you saw a Khandro's demonstration. Some of these examples, they're not really helpful.
Sangbe dedang chiwaina kupcha tela jawa chambe yukdang sangbe dedang lagrwa na jirum jewaina there's a changbo che and yang dendis so there is tema de bache ani kolele che kaje dendis na riyosre na kaje dendis na riyos susun de kaje dendis na riyos ani mig de ze ngaso sambala mig dendis zumdi de na chi that how much you do is or chik doa kom chu ye dis doa dila chingwa yongya la dukshu chingwa yilanga khatse shu dirisha.
So when you are practicing meditation, especially for building single-pointed concentrations, you can either sit on chairs like the Maitreya Buddha, or there's a Sangbo did a nice posture, or you can sit with a cross, full or semi-cross leg. The most important things are relax. You cannot really be stiff when you meditate. Either try to don't be tight, but really sit upright and relax. Make sure that the air is flowing in your body easily. That's why it's so important for being relaxed. And your eyes usually is better slightly looking lower, not really upper, but looking down a little bit. Sometimes people feel when you close your eye, then you become so concentrated, like you're almost shutting down all the disruptions, but that's not true. As soon as you shut down your eye, then it increases all the conditions for developing this dullness, and you become kind of sleepy and dull. And so the sleepiness and the dullness primarily caused by really closing your eyes. So it's better just, keep your eyes open, but look a little bit downward.
That's better than komjem tatu ani tupchala and ji karsorta rangde chuku jinde zuku la zorwa.
And the ultimate goal of the meditation is to attain two things. For our own purposes, attain the Dharmakaya. And then for the other sentient beings, we attain the Rupakaya, the physical forms or the manifestation, the forms of the manifestation. And so to accomplish that, we need to first understand the true truth as a ground, the conventional and the ultimate truth. And then the that's called also the true path, which is the understanding the true truth. And then the path, the ground is the true truth, conventional and ultimate, or the and then the path is the method, right? The path, Shi ground is the wisdom. And then Debu, the result is the Guni, the true bodies, which is the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. I don't know, like for the Dharmakaya, basically what the English word for Dharmakaya do we have? True the body. And form, the truth body and the form body, the Rupakaya. So that's the kind of result we aim.
Yes, tallerase ma ta yang gomkashi perezina chaksinta zoksindiri simji chuningo gomyanina nisi logarwa yang gomdankagarwa. Timata tesa mikti mikban jiresine 왕부 코랑코랑라 셈 슉침부 줘야 이 말이지. 왕부칼. 그래서 미칼 지드나 미기나 그러와. 미랑 봤을라나. 셈디가 오정도 미기 강통한데라. 아니 배주 마시가 나지. 아니 셈디 오정이나 짜짜만저 거나 배주 매가 나지. 칼레 곰저도. 아니 셈디 오정송이나 데니 지 남도 지 매바치네 심코나 당마 제 뭐가라 야 세르 당도 줘야 가라 된제 여바 송장 아니 당분이 지당이 사지 정말 믹좀 되니 쓰지 뭐야 아이야 가서 믹좀 검들어 누구한테 상말로 믹 레스 롱그 tuku karso chuku de zigdang ya denis longu de zigdang tuku de zigdang sumna jensum de ni suje ngo zhegme do so 당번에 kale 된 정말 찡용도 그래.
So it's very important when you meditate, you really relax physically. The Rinpoche is sit easily, at ease, leave your body, and your senses, everything at ease, but not really control or restrain them. Unless you're practicing Mahamudra and Dzogchen, in which you're really looking at the nature of the mind. But for our kind of a meditation, generating single-pointed equipoise, it's very important that we, have a strong mindfulness. You place your eye naturally, but not closed, downwards, but really not concentrate on the visions that you experience. Do not put your concentration or attention on your eyesight, but your mind is still constantly checking how your mind is drifting, whether your mind is still on the object. When the mind drifts from the object, bring back. And so this constant, mindfulness, that's very important. With that, kind of generating the attention or the samadhi, concentration. But we shouldn't close our eyes, because you don't see any Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the Sambhogakaya Buddhas, none of the deities are closing their eye. Like whether you see any Buddhas in form of Tulku, the manifestation, or in the Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment bodies, all of the deities keep them eyes open, right? And then as a practitioner, that we keep close our mind. And how you're going to, benefit others if you keep your eyes closed. So that's where, a good example. Look, all the, like the statues, the deities, they're all keeping their eyes open. There's a reason for that. We also should let our eye open, but not concentrate on the visions or the eye, but really keep your mind checking on where your mind is drifting to. Bring back and place it continuously to the object.
So the
most important is that we all should follow our own kind of individual approach and develop habit. Right now, we really don't have the habit or become familiar with the practice of bodhicitta and emptiness. So it becomes so tough. The subject is very difficult and it's really hard now.
내가 되다 롭존치는 내가 자침보다 빼샤 망보라서 다 직자만다 되절라서 돈아 쉬우지기도 와 지딩이 또그 된다 빼미시 돈아시 빼미시 존지 줘 지거로 간이스는 고직 주지 라바디 하고 그러. 당가서 최디 타르바디 하마고. 아니 동행 뭐 맞죠? 타르바 하마고 송장 대 배전 주는 지금에도. 맞서서 내버려지. 아니 질랍나로 제 아니 직다야 저러다 다직 티야 저러다 직다야 다 질랍 여여봐. 될라지 스칼레가 버려. 맞지 심디 주와 마타바이나 칸디스 산지 좀 되지. 아니 마 최송을 되나 가서 따야 당 동야 당 딘지 춘에 잡지 제면도 맞죠. 아니 심뒤야 치도 짠자 심주와 땅 안디 주주 땅야 아니 동행 뭐저 대화 뭐저 디 주주 땅야 송도 심뒤와 짠자 송낭도 산지 좀 되지. 아니 가서 특biệt 가지고 그러다 가서 레와티드 캔서래 rồi 딱 봐도 레와 제들이 야구 참 nga 용어요 또 좀 nga 마 용어지 디 대서 녀들어
So it's very important really to know the qualities of our mind, which really, as I mentioned, enable us to attain the nirvana or the full enlightenment. Really start looking at the incredible power of our mind, understanding and appreciating that, and then we become confident and we become really focused on attaining the liberation from samsara and full enlightenment, because first you really appreciate that quality, the quality of totally abandoned the state of mind, abandoning all the faults of the samsara, the freeing oneself from the limitation of the samsara. And that's something we have the root, we have the potentials to do that, appreciating this the experience of the enlightenment. And if you contemplate on that, then we know the benefit of getting there, and then we will start working really hard. This is just like because a lot of people are able to work really hard, enjoy a lot of hardship in your career at your job, because they see the benefit. You're getting this instant reward of cash or money, and seeing that reward, people work so hard. And they don't have to like push, but people naturally, like a machine, working so hard because they see the benefit at the end. You get the income. Likewise, we constantly meditate on the benefit of the liberation or the nirvana, benefit of the attaining full enlightenment. Once you really contemplate seeing the benefit, then it will reinforces, it will catalyze, right, us to practice a dharma. For Buddha's teaching, is very important. Although blessing or blessing prayers is important, but the main thing is really engaging training. The Buddha Shakyamuni constantly reminding us, the essence of the teaching is to tame our mind, to transform our mind, and not just simply live on hope. People, but on the other hand, we always have this strong hope, and we do prayers, we have strong wish, and constantly saying, can you give me some like a sacred something to bless me? Can you bless me? And we're constantly asking for like some begging for something, because we have this craziness for hope. We're hoping something will happen, and sometimes I feel it's a little bit strange, and maybe it's a little bit problematic, like a controller saying it's a bit like a mad person, like a crazy for something, like hoping for something. So when you constantly live for hope, you're crazy. But you have to work on it.
Yeah, that's all. 아니, 나 드린 답시 대가서 자기 그새 렌저 되니 제가 뭐 상황을 아니 배게 담시지 니 투지체 가진체 되니 아주 상황을로 하다 지 제와니처럼 뭐 몰라 렌딩하네 데 좀바래 되니 아주 전주 있음 동반이 걸 아니 돌린지야 충성 배 개와상보 충성 투지체 되니제 넘바 투즈레 되니지 핀도 메만라 되지 충성나 건다 주기 되니 가서 소당거리 투지체.
So we'll stop here. Thank you for everyone coming to listen my talk. It's wonderful to be with you. You know, we gathered here for many reasons, you know, like a karmic relationship, right? The karmas, for, you know, maybe beyond this life, for many, you know, good, you know, favorable conditions we gathered here, thanks to our good karma that, you know, we must have earned predating this life. And during this course of discussion, we're able to discuss about, you know, practice of bodhicitta, practice of shunyata, the emptiness view, and such wonderful, it's such kind of fortunate, you know, that having such, you know, wonderful time with you. But if I did waste your time, I apologize.
Okay.